questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on. So the parties have given a notice on time. We must emphasize that in allocating the opportunities for every party for supplementary question, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technological difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. The first question today is question number 604, asked by the Honorable Mare to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. The Honorable, the Minister, is in the chamber.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you, honorable members, and thank you, Honorable Murray, for the question. In my response to the Public Protector in relation to an inquiry into the matter, I stated the following, and I quote, that the fairing of business delegations, such as representatives, for instance, of the defense industry and the like, are not uncommon when all are traveling in the same direction. Now, unfortunately, my office does not keep such records of the nature requested here, and I'm therefore not in a position to give detailed information starting from 2015, but I have requested the South African Air Force to provide me with information, and when that information comes, I will be able to provide honorable members with the response. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mare.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Minister. Not that it is quite satisfactory. Minister, the Defence Act, Section 80, subsection 3A1, determines that the Minister of Defence must first consult the Minister of Finance before allowing conveyance of any person who is not an officer or an employee of the state on board a South African Air Force aircraft. The state of disaster regulations determines that any private person must first get the approval from the Minister of Transport before travelling abroad. The Guide to Members of the Executive for Travel, Chapter 7, Article 1.2, determines that transport by the South African Air Force may not be used for party political purposes. The President determined that you showed poor judgment and imposed a fine on you for travelling to Harare with your ANC colleagues on board the VIP Falcon 900. You know the devastating effect of the budget cuts on the South African Affairs Force and specifically flying hours for the Air Force, and that non-essential expenses cannot be allowed at any time. You as the Minister of Defence should set the example and show discipline at all times. Given all of these, why did you decide not to comply with all the laws and regulations and to blatantly violate them when transporting your ANC colleagues to the meeting between the ANC and ZANU-PF in Harare? And why do you feel that you have done nothing wrong, that you will do it again, and that you are still fit to be the Minister of Defence? I so moved and submit.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Murray. Indeed, in your own judgment, you may feel strongly that I do not deserve to be a minister anymore because of what I have done. But I also want to remind you, as a member of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense, Honorable Murray, that in 2018, when you took a decision as the Joint Standing Committee on Defense to go and visit the Democratic Republic of Congo, to visit the members of the Force Intervention Brigade in the Eastern DRC, Parliament had actually booked you on a commercial flight to go to the Eastern DRC. And I took a political decision. Whether it was a correct decision, it means now it was a wrong decision, without the consultation which you have referred to. And I said to Parliament, we cannot allow these honorable members to fly commercially to Kinshasa and then sleep over in Kinshasa and take a flight to Goma. I actually offered an aircraft from the Air Force in my absence and in the absence of the officials of the Department of Defense, except for the spokesperson, to accompany you to the Democratic Republic of Congo, because I knew it was a correct thing to do. It was not political. You went there because there were reasons for you to go. I do want to say this, even in this instance, without defending myself, I did not go on a tour to Zimbabwe. I went to Zimbabwe because there were national security interest issues, which all of us are aware, things which are affecting us, are impacting on us here negatively, which are happening in Zimbabwe. And in any government, there is nothing wrong in adopting a multi-pronged strategy, a two-layer approach, where you have your envoys who will deal with government, where you have your party, which will deal with the party, because the party in any country will always have a lot of influence on what the state does. And this is what happened here. Now, honorable members, I have been made to feel like I woke up in the morning, I took an aircraft, and I went to the Livingston to see the waterfalls. I did not do that. I went to Zimbabwe, having recovered from COVID, to go and sort out some of the real critical issues which are affecting not the Defense Force, not the ANC, but which affect all of us as a country. And I just think that, yes, and I just think that, and I'm happy that the public protector is investigating, and I've accepted the fact that the president has imposed a sanction on me, but it shouldn't be that I just jumped into an aircraft and crossed the river and went to Zimbabwe on a tour.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mutle. Honorable Mutle, the next follow-up question will be from you.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. My follow-up question to the Minister, after the event has taken place and it was breaking news in the South African media space, we then looked into the matter and we realized that there was no provision in law that discouraged the minister applying his or her discretion in a related matter. Now, after that, there was an investigation that was commissioned by the public protector, and we agreed that we will await that particular investigation in order to see whether we were wrong or right in assessment of legislation or law. How is your department in the interim ensuring that there's a discretionary policy in place to avoid unnecessary public pressure in future? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. May I remind all of us on the rules, Rule 142, If you can remind yourselves about the times that you are supposed to ask a follow-up question. Only the first one who asks question, who is the poser, will get 2 minutes and the others 1 minute. I don't want to stop you before you pose your question, so try to minimize on the preambles. The Honorable, the Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Chairperson, allow me to just complete the first part of the follow-up question which was raised by Honorable Marais or comment, which was in view of the poor budgets, the budgetary constraints we have in the Defence Force, which is correct, which is very true. But what I do want to remind honorable members that the amount of fuel burnt from Johannesburg to Harare on the day is exactly the same amount of fuel I would have burnt going to Zimbabwe and back. Now, the issue here is about the fact that I gave a delegation of the ANC a lift. I have given lifts to multi-party delegations, by the way. And I am not about to defend the fact that I gave the ANC fuel. But the reality is that I burned the same amount of fuel. I just think that from a human point of view, it would have been very selfish of me to just jump into an aircraft alone and fly to Zimbabwe, leaving people who were also going to Zimbabwe to deal with the same issues which I was meant to go and deal with. I did not go to Zimbabwe on a visit. Zimbabwe itself is closed. I went to Zimbabwe because I had to deal with very serious matters which are impacting on the security of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mafanya, EFF.
Chair.
Yes, ma.
I will take the question on behalf of Honorable Mafanya. Is Honorable Mkondo?
Thank you. Proceed.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, the ruling party continues to treat state resources as if they are party resources. This is everywhere. We have seen municipal cars used for campaigns during elections. And such kind of abuse of resources is encouraged. Minister, did you at any point make the president aware that you will be traveling with ANC officials to a ZANU-PF meeting? And were there any Home Affairs officials to check their traveling documents if they were in order when they left the country? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mama Fanya. The Honorable, the Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Mafanya. Honorable Mafanya, I'd rather we wait for the outcome of the Public Protector's investigation to respond to the first part of your question. The second part of the question is precisely because it was known that all of us were supposed to go and resolve these issues which I have referred to, which issues I have shared openly with the committee I belong to of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense, which also include some members of the Democratic Alliance and some members of the Economic Freedom Front, fighters, I'm sorry. And I have done that with all humility, and I have provided detailed information on the nature of the issues we had to deal with. That campaigns are conducted using state resources, that for me is not what I am talking about and discussing here. I am now dealing here with a matter which all of us have been raising on a daily basis in all committee meetings. The issue is that people feel strongly that they are inundated, they are overwhelmed by presence of foreign national, some of whom are undocumented. And that for me is the issue. Now, these are some of the issues which I have discussed in a meeting of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense, and they know what are the issues we raised with Zimbabweans and what their response has been. So I'm just saying that of a campaign is completely different from that which affects you and I, our children, and future generations, because if Zimbabwe is unfortunately unable to resolve some of its internal challenges, somehow they impact on us negatively. If it sneezes or we sneeze this side, they catch a flu or we catch a flu this side. So it was important for us to go to Zim and have a heart-to-heart discussion about the nature of the issues, their economic challenges, and how best we can resolve those issues as a country, as the two countries together. And by the way, remember, our president is currently the chair of the African Union, and therefore has an obligation when there are any challenges to adopt, if he wants, a multi-pronged strategy of engaging with the state together with the party, because we can't run away from the reality that the party tends to have a lot of influence on how the state runs its business. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister.
Person?
Yes,
Chair.
Honorable Mkalipi.
I just want to correct something for sake of the records. It's not Honorable Mafanya, it's Honorable Mkondo. She was taking a question for Honorable Mafanya. For your records, Chair.
She did say, I'm sorry I called her Mafanya after that. She did introduce herself as Ms. Mkondo. My apologies. Mhlonishwa Inkosi Cebekhulu.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, after a huge outcry from political parties and media, people about the SAF transporting ANC leadership, ANC committed itself to pay back the department the cost of traveling to Zimbabwe. Has that been honored? And was the fare equivalent to the normal air charge by business flights? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, and thank you, Chair, once more. Chairperson, the total amount, because this was not a chartered aircraft, the total amount for the aircraft to Zimbabwe from Johannesburg cost us 232,000, and the ANC's portion out of that was 105,000, because airport tax was paid by me, by us as defense, because I was also going there as the Minister of Defense and having consultations with a Minister of Defense on Troika matters. Now, the ANC, on the day the President issued the statement to the effect that my salary was being docked, and number two, that I needed to make sure that the ANC pays government, I did that. And I do want to say, Chair, and I'm grateful to the ANC for the sake of my own integrity and for my own sleep, the ANC paid the same day the amount of 102,000, whose invoice, if I'm requested to produce, we can produce and send it to Parliament. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we proceed now to question 579, asked by the Honorable Yako. To the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service. You are welcome, the Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The COVID-19 special parole dispensation for the low-risk offenders granted by the President, Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa, has been positive in terms of managing overcrowding and COVID-19. Our population as at Friday, 30 October 2020, was just above 139 and 37 offenders, which translate 139,037 offenders, which translate to an overcrowding level of 15.81%, as compared to the population in April 2020, which was 154,945, equating to 28.52% over the approved accommodation of 120,567 bed space. The impact of overcrowding is not only limited to the ability of the department to run corrective programs to rehabilitate inmates, it also affects other areas, such as the release of low-risk offenders based on the COVID-19 special parole dispensation, broad temporal relief in reduction of the overall sentence population and levels of overcrowding. That being the case, the challenge of the limited bed space shared between the professionals and custodial staff continues, resulting in some programs that are required group work intervention to take longer to complete than normal sessions or length of sessions. Also, access to programs by eligible offenders may be compromised due to inadequate conducive venues, and in extreme circumstances may result in the delay by offenders to access programs. During the strict lockdown regulations, there were limitations with regards to rendering of services and programs, as well as skilling of offenders. However, numbers are expected to increase.
Don't be disturbed, continue.
However, numbers are expected to increase with the resumption of rehabilitation programs, as the size of the groups and work teams still depends on the size of the venue in adherence to the COVID-19 health protocols. A total of 91,800 offenders went through rehabilitation programs for personal well-being since COVID-19 national lockdown level 3, that is between June to September 2020. These programs offered by the department include psychological services, 14,699, social work services, 48,748, and spiritual care services, 28,353. The existing infrastructure is not conducive for providing rehabilitation and developmental programs as well as skills development. The majority of the inherited infrastructure was not designed for rehabilitation and makes it more difficult with COVID-19 protocols in place. However, an effort to meet its rehabilitation obligations with the aim of targeting the offender behavior and skilling of offenders, the department has forged partnerships with various non-governmental organizations, government departments including CETA, as well as faith-based organizations to help with the skilling and the rehabilitation programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Mhlonishwa Yako.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, the problem of overcrowding in prisons has been there for the past decade or more, and it is made worse by the high number of remand detainees who spend years in jail awaiting trial while magistrates' courts keep postponing the matters indefinitely. So, one, what can your department do to assist magistrates' courts to expedite cases as to reduce the number of remand detainees? Secondly, in cases where the remission of sentences is considered, what guarantees do you put in place to ensure that those who have their sentences remitted will not further partake in criminal activities once outside of jail? And lastly, what steps are you taking to ensure that public works comes to the party and makes sure that your prisoners are not only habitable, but that public works is mandated by law for the upkeep of prisoners of prison facilities? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much. Firstly, is that during this period, we have also encouraged the departments and the various area commissioners to apply to the magistrates' courts for remand detentions who had bail to be of less than 5,000 rand, to apply to be reconsidered for their bail to be reduced. And this has led to a reduction in the first quarter of about 1,279, and in the second quarter of about 1,122. Others were not successful. But the key to the reduction of remand detentions is the reality of modernizing of the systems of the entire criminal justice cluster that will enable it to function at an optimum level. But also during this period of COVID-19, some of the criminal trials and the trials were delayed because of these factors, and some were postponed. But efforts were made where bail was granted to enable others to be able to reduce their bail conditions. And the only way to deal mostly with this remand detention is when the system has been modernized, and also when all the stakeholders that are in the space, the magistrates, the prosecutors, and the entire role players, including the legal practitioners, work together in management of the court role to ensure that these trials do take place speedily, and there is a fair trial for all the accused people. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Nivot Drachen.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Minister, recidivism, which results in overcrowding, can be linked to unsuccessful rehabilitation in correctional centres. This indicates the importance of the Department of Correctional Services having a needs-based approach to corrections. In this regard, does the Department Rehabilitation Programme for sex offenders how successful is that? And if we weigh such programs against the rates of reoffenders in sex offenders. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The Honorable the Minister.
Yes, the department has the sexual offender treatment program, which is offered by professionals. Based on our experience, evidence points to the fact that the program is contributing to reduce reoffending, mostly by the offenders. However, due to the vast nature of many factors in our society that leads to sexual offenses, repeat offending can happen due to other factors, which may also include recidivism within our facilities. But the program has proven to be successful, and there is a small number that sometimes reoffend. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Moruti Mishwe, o tswela telang ke a lona ntate.
Thank you, Deputy Honorable Chairperson. I'm aware that the percentages I'm going to give are slightly different from what the Minister said, but nevertheless, according to a News 24 report of 28 July 2020, South African prisons were still 25% overcrowded after about 4,000 inmates were released on special COVID-19 parole on 24 June 2020. To mitigate against overcrowding in prisons, the ACDP believes the courts should sentence those guilty of misdemeanors such as stealing food, non-violent financial crimes, to making restitution to victims and community service, rather than sentencing them to prison. Would the Minister agree that such an approach would greatly assist to mitigate overcrowding in our prisons, and that poor people who have stolen food should be made to pay back what they have stolen, rather than sit in prison with violent and dangerous prisoners? Thank you.
The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you. I think I may not fully agree with the particulars points and factors that the Reverend is pointing to, but I do agree that because in terms of our stats, it does indicate that those that have stayed for less than 5 years or less years in our centers are the one that in mostly instances re-offend because they have not yet fully undergone the rehabilitation programs. So there is a need for society to engage on alternative forms of sentencing that may not in certain instances include incarcerations of offenders. So I do agree that there is a need for that debate and for us to ensure that in terms of the laws that we currently have, practically it could still be implemented through the various sentencing programs and the penal system which are available, but a more rigorous program could be implemented also through a societal debate that will lead to a clear and concrete program to ensure that those that are arrested, which might get less than 5 or 2 years and so forth, there could be a debate of an alternative sentencing. I think that is the debate the Reverend wants to introduce. Thank you, which I agree with.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Sheikh Imam, you'll ask the last follow-up question.
Thank you. Thank you, House Chairperson. Minister, I don't think you're giving us a true reflection of what is happening in the prisons, Minister. You know, it is common knowledge that most of the crimes today are committed by repeat offenders. So it means the rehabilitation program is ineffective, it's not working. But very importantly, one of the reasons why your department in always is releasing offenders is because you do not have the necessary space. And I'll give you a good example in Krebo, where in 1991 you released somebody, he came out and committed the same offense. 1998, exactly the same thing. 2001, exactly the same thing. He's repeatedly being released because you do not have the necessary space in the prisons. So could you kindly take us into your confidence and tell us, and it's not necessarily a problem of your department because it's coming from other relevant departments. So could you kindly take us into your confidence, tell us what is the real situation in the prison, its overcrowding, and whether there can be a holistic approach to dealing with crime to reduce the number of offenders in the country. Thank you.
The Honorable the Minister.
Yeah, the only way we can really finish overcrowding is to finish crime in this country. As long as crime is still there, people will continue to be incarcerated. The issue is how do we manage it? Because the reality is that not everyone who has committed a crime, as the Reverend Mushe has just said, should be sentenced to a period of incarceration. The debate should be on the reduction of crime, on the alternative forms of sentencing, and incarceration be reserved for the hardened criminals who have proven themselves that they will only be rehabilitated when they are inside the cells. So it does need a holistic approach from the fight against crime to the alternative forms of sentencing, and also to ensure that the space in our facilities is reserved for those hardened criminals. It is also a reality, House Chairperson, that even as we continue to open facilities, we will be opening on Friday the new generation prison in Zanini. The Deputy Minister on Monday has opened the Kamaku new facility in the Eastern Cape. But still, though we continue to build and open new facilities, infrastructure can never outpace the rate of conviction. So we have to manage the manner in which people are incarcerated, the manner in which alternative forms of sentencing are given to manage the issue of overcrowding. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister. We move, Honorable Members, to the next question, which is question number 506. Yes, 560. Also asked by Honorable Nivoud Drachen to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service.
The Thuthuzela care centers are one-stop facilities that have been introduced as a critical part of South Africa's anti-rape strategy, aiming to reduce secondary victimization, improve conviction rates, and reduce the cycle time for finalization of cases. The TCCs are located within a public hospital, based in communities where the incidence of rape is particularly high. The TCC model is regarded as an international best practice model in dealing with sexual offense matters holistically. This is to be implemented by a victim-centric approach, prosecutor-guided investigations that is co-directed with stakeholder cooperation. We currently have 55 of these sites nationally, with plans to establish an additional 6 sites on the Criminal Assets Recovery Account, CARA, funding within the MTF period. The focus of the model is aligned with our current victim-centric approach and is to ensure a holistic, integrated service being provided to victims at these sites. The criteria utilized for the selection process of possible TC sites in the respective divisions provinces is listed herewith. The volume of sexual offense cases dealt with by the courts at present, South African Police Service statistics on sexual offenses being reported in the regions, whether the location of the site will be in a rural or urban area, or are the matters currently being reported at SAPS predominantly from a rural or urban area that will serve the possible site, whether the high rate of sexual violence in the area versus other crimes reported, especially in relation to children as victims. We consider if the area is specifically prone to gang or drug-related crimes. This is essential because in many instances, these factors are direct contributors to sexual offenses. We assess if there could be stakeholder cooperation in place at the nominated sites. In other words, are relevant stakeholders on board. We have to consider the availability of space in the Department of Health, hospital for the site. Space being available in the hospital makes it less challenging to establish a site than the process of procuring a park home in the absence of space in the hospital. We also consider the availability of family violence, child protection, and sexual offenses investigators, FCS unit within the SAPS, and non-governmental organization support services in the area. And finally, we consider if there is a sexual offenses court or hybrid model already available at the magistrate office where these cases will be dealt with. In addition, it must be noted that this process, as facilitated by the NPA, is based on an integrated multi-sectoral foundation from the beginning to ensure buy-in and cooperation from relevant stakeholders. This is essential to ensure optimum victim-centric service delivery. It is also worth noting that rural areas are always included and accommodated in the selection process to ensure that they are not deprived from this crucial rape care management support system. Therefore, the availability of hospitals or clinics from DOH is a crucial factor being considered in the selection process, which applies to both rural and urban areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Nieuwoud-Bruggen. Yes, you can proceed, Honorable Bruggen.
Thank you very much, House Chair. And thank you, Minister, for that comprehensive response. From the reports of the National Prosecuting Authority, the Thuthuzela care centres have proven to be successful in securing convictions. Could the Minister clarify us on how the impact assessment of these TCC centres is made, and also how public awareness about the existence and functioning of the TCCs is conducted, especially in the rural areas? Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nieuwoud-Bruggen. The Honorable Minister.
When reporting at Thuthuzela care centers, rape survivors are removed from the crowds to a victim-friendly room. They receive comfort and crisis counseling, where service providers are available to a survivor in one location. Access to safe spaces, shelters is provided should the survivor not be able to return home after the rape. Access to antiretroviral and ongoing HIV counseling is also offered. The TCC also provides access to other information, arrest, court dates, bail decisions, and so forth, should this be requested by the survivor. The most effective public awareness and education initiative, especially in rural areas, is through outreach sessions as well as using national and local community radio stations, media, and television talk shows. Brochures and pamphlets are also left behind at these community awareness events. In the current time of COVID-19, we have used the social media platforms and the website for information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Breitenbach.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Honourable Minister, the reality is that the establishment of Thuthuzela care centres and the operation thereof are very costly. This really obviously informs the fact that apart from the few that are now to be established from the funds from the set aside from the criminal asset recovery account, there's really no medium or longer term plan in exponentially expanding the numbers. Will the department and the NPA not consider other options, like replicating the best practices of TCCs at existing service points that deal with victims of rape? Thank you.
The Honourable the Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. It's the cost, though, as spoken by Honourable Breitenbach, it's high. It is a necessary cost, because from this best practice, we are learning and we are able to implement some of these learning outcomes or experiences from the Thuthuzela care centers to other sexual offences courts and processes, though they may not be elevated to a level of a Thuthuzela care center. So that experience and working within this is useful and good information for the other parts in the system. And indeed, the department will continue to explore, including with the NPA and other relevant stakeholders, other alternative options that could help us to replicate this system that has proven to be effective, as per what Honourable Breitenbach is saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Yako.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The whole of last year, we raised issues about Thuthuzela centres that were being closed throughout the country because the National Treasury was busy with austerity measures. There are Thuthuzela centres that are without human resources. There are no counsellors, and in some cases, counsellors that are there are not properly trained. Has the National Treasury reduced the department's budget that was allocated for Thuthuzela centres during the 2020 special adjustment budget and during the medium-term budget policy statement? And where is the department going to get the money to expand these services in rural areas with budget cuts? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Yako. The Honourable the Minister.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. As I have said, that we continue at this stage to utilize the CARA funds to expand this program in the various parts of the country, and where challenges arises, such as the one raised by the Honourable Member, we continue to respond and address to those challenges that relates to professional counsellors, that relates to the working of the centre. And we are doing this in collaboration with our stakeholders, the Department of Social Development and the Department of Health, on the various platforms with regards to the challenges that the Thuthuzela care centers are facing. And at this stage, we will continue with that program up until additional resources are found somewhere. At this stage, we will continue to explore where and how we can be able to help this institution, as I've said, in response to Honourable Breitenbach. Thank you.
Thank you. Prof. Msima, I just saw you.
Thank you, Honourable.
Continue, Honourable.
Thank you, Honourable House.
Honourable.
Thank you, Honourable House.
Honourable Msimang, we proceed. You have the
Thank
right
you.
to speak.
And honourable members, the Department of Social Development just closed comment on the Victim Support Services Bill,
which could be instrumental in allowing victims of crime across the country to navigate their traumatic experiences in a smoother and more effective way. Does the Department of Justice and Correctional Services envisage collaboration with civil society and the Department of Social Development when attempting to extend its reach to far-flung and rural areas to ensure that more South Africans experience a better justice system for crime? If so, can the Minister elaborate? If not, why not? Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. Yes, indeed, we collaborate and work with the Department of Social Development, including on the bill, which came through the various clusters, including Cabinet. The Department of Justice is an active player in terms of the bill itself, because it is important for the victims of crimes in this country. And the Department of Correctional Services, as you are aware, the Act also envisages as empowering victims of crime. So there is that level of collaboration, and also that will also take us to the various rural areas of the country, as the honorable member is asking. Thank you.
Thank you. We proceed, honorable members, to question 590, 590, asked to the Minister of Police by the Honorable Majosi. The Honorable, the Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. The South African Police Service has implemented a gender-based violence GBV turnaround plan at all police stations in KwaZulu-Natal. The plan focuses on stabilizing the current situation by ensuring an integrated approach. The plan was implemented on the 16th of July 2020 and will be in place until 31st March 2021. The hotspot police stations, which include Inanda and Umlazi, are monitored daily by district commissioners, and operations are led by senior officers. All incidents of GBV, trends, patterns, and threats are monitored daily at a provincial, district, and police station level. The following interventions have been implemented in KwaZulu-Natal. 1, attendance to the emergencies and newly reported cases in respect of victim of GBV. 24-hour family violence, child protection, and sexual offences standby teams which are on call in all districts. Raiding operations in all districts to search for and apprehend suspects in GBV cases. Food patrols and distribution of crime awareness pamphlets in crime hotspots. Joint liquor law enforcement operations in conjunction with the KwaZulu-Natal Liquor Authority, which involves the monitoring and inspection of liquor premises to identify and apprehend non-compliant and illegal liquor traders. School and campus awareness programs focusing on the education of students with regard to the negative effects of alcohol abuse, which also addresses GBV-related matters. Integrated community structure programs, investigative monitoring interventions at all the FCS units, which includes the inspection of equipment, exhibits, and dockets related to the GBV cases, the compiling of intervention reports, which addresses shortcomings with time frame for ratification. The following meetings are taking place: South African Police Service National Prosecuting Office NPA management meetings chaired by the Chief Prosecutor to address challenges and discuss high-profile sensitive cases. Bi-monthly senior management meetings chaired by the Deputy Provincial Commissioner, Crime Detection, which are attended by the NPA, the Director of Public Prosecution, and the SAPS. Case flow meetings chaired by the NPA to address the flow of dockets and challenges with view to speed up the investigation of GBV cases. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, thank you. The Honorable Majosi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, the Honorable Minister. Can you tell us at which phase of the Basic Police Development Learning Program does SAPS recruits undergo upon enlisting covers gender-based violence and femicide training? Further, how extensive is this aspect, and considering the high rates of GBV in the concerned areas and across the country, has this aspect been considered to reflect the seriousness of the issue? If not, how does the Minister hope to achieve effective policing of this scourge, as it is clear that current officers are not well equipped to do so? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Majosi. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. All police, they go for basic training in different institutions and academies in the country. Then from there, they are recruited for different specializations in different fields of policing, including this one that will be recruited in the FCS. Unfortunately, last year there was no intake at all of the basic training because of COVID. But to the previous year, we recruited 312 to be part of the specialization in the FCS. Then we put these units at the station level, especially those station levels that have a problem, and they are commanded by senior officers. For instance, in Nanda and Umlazi, where there are problems, they are both those stations commanded by the Lieutenant Colonel and 2 captains looking after units, and there are 28 members in each, both in stations, and there are 15 cars that are there. They are specialized, and we continue to train them. Well, I'm not very sure or whether I agree with the member to say they are ineffective. If they were completely ineffective, we would not have 4,728 people that are doing life when it comes to GBV. I'm not talking about people that are in prison. I'm talking about people that are doing life. There are 4,724 which means those units are doing their work. Might not be enough, but they are doing their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Faku is in the chamber.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, can Minister provide us details of how many gender-based violence cases in Inyanda and Umlazi police stations that have been committed by police officers, and what has SAPS done to discipline these police officers? Can Minister also provide us with the number of gender-based violence cases for the first and the second quarter of 2020-21? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Yes, Chairperson, is not only in Nanda and Umlazi. We've got almost 100 plus police officers that themselves have involved in this shameful kind of activities. The National Commissioner and the management, we have agreed that we need to deal with what we term expeditious expulsion and expeditious consequences for those that, instead of protecting these people, they tend them to be their own victims. It is true that we have that problem far beyond the Umlazi and Inand. So, but we are following that, and there are members that have been expelled already. But the first thing, as we go for expeditious processes, we remove them from these units, or we remove them from the front desk so that they are completely not in contact with the victims of gender-based violence. To the second question, we have released the new second quarter statistics, as you know now, that we release them on quarterly basis. Though they've shown a decrease, but it's a very high number that in 3 months, 8,000 women were raped in South Africa. That is starting from the 1st of July until the end of September. 8,000 of them were raped. Unfortunately, it continues that women in South Africa are raped on the places where they're supposed to be safe. They are raped in their own homes. They are raped by the people well known to them. They are raped by husbands. They are raped by boyfriends, fathers, uncles, grandfathers, brothers. So it's an issue when we make this call to say it's a societal matter and all of us who must be involved. It's because these women who are supposed to be protected, perpetrators are well-known people and at the places where they're supposed to be safe. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Ter Blanche, is it Honorable General? Oh, General Ter Blanche. Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, you have already indicated that your staff deployed at the stations are not maybe, enough or the numbers to deal with this situation. Now, Minister, please indicate whether your targeted intervention strategy would require the deployment of additional members then. And if yes, how many additional members will be deployed and where? Minister, and obviously they would be needing vehicles. How many additional vehicles do you plan to issue for them? What is the total estimated cost of this exercise and how will it be funded? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ter Blanche. The Minister.
Chairperson, that's correct. We've got 30 top stations in the country that are leading in terms of the gender-based violence. As you would know, that Inanda will be number 1, Umlazi will be number 2. I think of late, Nyanga and Walanga will be 4 and 5, number 6 will be Pleseslar and going down all the way. So according to these figures, they tell us that and they inform us how much then the resources we need to be able to respond to that. As I've said, that these two stations, 1 and 2, I've given the figures. But these figures will never be enough. We would have loved to get more numbers. But it does give us a problem, Chairperson, that we did not have basic training last year. We're supposed to have had 7,000 intake, which means we're minus 7,000, and we're not sure this year we're now beginning to have this intake. We're supposed to have in January of taking 3,000 of reservists we're having because there are health protocols that we need to follow on the matter. So the weight of the crime in that particular station tells us how much we must respond. But as I've said, it will never be enough. But relatively, we'll try our best to respond accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mkhalipi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, the reality is that the crisis about GBV is very deep in South Africa. And what strategies and programs to deal with members of SAPS who does not take this work of theirs as members of South African policy very serious, in such a way that the GBV perpetrators are always get out of this way because there is nothing that is happening. A case in point is in Hillbrow Police Station, whereby one detective by the name of Mpahlele did not want to help a victim. As a result, a victim wanted to commit a suicide. And this is one of the cases, and it's many in South Africa, Minister. So as a result, those who are victims of GBV violence, who are women in this case, they have lost hope. So therefore, I think there is a many ways to deal with your own members who are
Can you
reluctant,
please
Minister, to
pose
deal
your
with
supplementary question? Your time has expired. Your supplementary question, your time has expired. Can you do that?
Yes, what strategies and interventionist strategy that the minister is going to apply to individual members who are the members of SAPS? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, as we have said, that we've got this specializing unit called the FCS, and 181 of the South African police service stations have the residence units on the police station to be able to respond at whatever given time. Besides that, we have 10 more that are national, that make the national intervention. If maybe there is a problem there, they need an extra kind of an effort, we'll send those there. So this training is continuing perpetually so. As I've said, we are training 312 more. Unfortunately, we can't have the intake because there was no basic training on this one. One other thing, especially led by the head of the FCS, General Lindela, who's working together with Advocate de Kock, who happens to be the Deputy NPA, have agreed that we are training the permanent police that will be permanent, occupying the gender-based violence desk in different police stations, also help them to train with the basic way of taking statement from the various group, but also train them to be sympathetic, have some empathy, so that they don't do things that Mrs. Honorable Member Khalid talking about, of chasing away the people that are there. So we are saying it's a priority case declared by the President as pandemic. So as the police will have to respond as such, we are trying our best and we're doing our best to make sure that the police understand the seriousness of the matter. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We move to question 562, asked by the Honorable Muela of the ANC to the Minister of Home Affairs, as Honorable Frolick will be taking over. Thank you, Honorable Minister of Home Affairs.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm on the visual platform. Yeah, Chairperson, let me start with a correction. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure did not spend 100 million rand on the purchase of Lindela holding facility. What has happened is that an amount of 73 million is held in trust at the Department of Public Works, because this is the amount that has been pledged to buy Lindela facility on auction, an auction that has taken place sometimes very early this year before COVID-19. However, there was a court case where that auction or the sale of facilities of BOSASA or African Global Assets, whereby the judge reversed the auction and said those facilities cannot be sold. But Chairperson, the impact on us, on the Lindela facility, is that we are still currently using the facility, because the facility is like a statutory facility, it's like a correctional service. You can't just do away with it. So we are still holding to it. We are paying rent to whoever is in charge of it. And at the moment, is the liquidator who's in charge. We are paying the rent. The second thing is that because there are services which have to be rendered, we are finalizing a bid process whereby we are going to get a service provider to provide services like food, health, security, regardless of whoever owns the project. So at the moment, things are still normal, regardless of the judgment of the reversal of the sale of the property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first follow-up question will be asked by the Honourable Mwela.
House Chair, thank you very much. And let me thank you, Honourable Minister, for the response. Honourable Minister, based on the response, I just want to check with you as to whether, in your understanding or in your knowledge, when is the bidding process expected to be completed? And has the department considered probably building internal capacity in Lindela Repatriation Center for the future purpose? Thank you very much, House Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I am not sure about the final date of the bidding process, but what I know is that it started sometimes back in August. Now, in terms of internal capacity to provide services in Lindela, we are looking into it in the form of outsourcing. The easiest of them all, Honourable Member, it will be to outsource security. The other services, because we don't really have them in Home Affairs, we wish we could provide them, but for now, we don't have that capacity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question will go to the Honourable Ruiz.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, Angela Agrisi testified at the Zondo Commission that the Lindela Repatriation Centre was used as a cash cow, with an AG report showing your department spending over 20,000 Rand per detainee per month. What action has your department taken to investigate and hold corrupt Home Affairs officials to account for their part in this scandal?
The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, I won't really call it a scandal, but it can qualify maybe depending on where you come from. It was a stupid deal. It was a stupid deal between Home Affairs officials for the past whatever number of years with Bosasa, whereby the facility can carry 4,000 people. But it was agreed that when the payment are made, there must be a minimum whereby the Department of Home Affairs cannot pay for 2,500 people, meaning even if there are 100 people, you still pay for that. We believe it's a very stupid deal, and we have removed it in this present bid that is going on. As to whether that was done as a matter of corruption or what, it was an agreement, it has been signed, but we believe it's a stupid one. Thank you very much.
The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honourable Tito from the EFF.
House Chair, I will take it.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Minister, do you agree that it will be cost efficient and practically for the state to move towards a situation where instead of spending monies on rental, government departments must do away with costly leases and own its properties such as Lindela? And the issue of capacity, I believe the department has been in existence for more than 20 years. So the issue of capacity must not be a problem now. So what is your plan in this regard, Minister? Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
I agree with you, Honourable Member. If you check in one of my budget speeches, I did mention this issue about the Department of Home Affairs having to rent facilities. And if I may remind the Honourable Member, I said, as far as I'm concerned, Home Affairs offices are like a police station, a hospital, a clinic, and a school. And I said none of those are usually rented. They are built by the state and they are owned by the state. And I said I want Home Affairs facilities to be like that. And the same will apply for Lindela. In fact, Honourable Member, we did ask if, for instance, we can move the inmates in Lindela to some facility that is owned by the state, We tried with the Defense Force whether there is some old military barracks that can be renovated. We couldn't get it. We went to correctional services. It's worse there, as you know. They've got overcrowding. We couldn't get anything. So if in future we build our own building, which is owned by the state, I'll be happy. So what I have done, I've approached the head of infrastructure in the presidency, the new infrastructure project which the president has announced, Dr. Hosien Tsoramogopa, to look at these issues with Home Affairs about us having to build our own offices with state money and own them, just like a hospital or a clinic or a police station. And that process is on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. And the last supplementary question will go to the Honourable Van der Merwe from the IFP.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Minister, the reality is that only a small fraction of those who are within our borders illegally or those who don't qualify for refugee status are sent to and deported from the Lindela Repatriation Centre. On the 18th of September last year, during a joint historic sitting of the National Assembly, President Ramaphosa admitted to our immigration system struggles when he said, and I quote, that all who live in South Africa must be legally permitted to do so, adding that your department, Minister, will ensure that we tighten up regulations to deter illegal immigration. My question then, can you outline the steps your department has taken to deter illegal migration and identify all foreign nationals in the Republic who are here illegally or undocumented since President Ramaphosa's statement more than a year ago? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Member, the people who are in South Africa are divided in various categories. We have got refugees who hold what we call a Section 24 permit. We have got asylum seekers who hold what we call a Section 22 permit. We've got people who have just arrived at the border and announced that they are applying for asylum, who hold a Section 23 permit. Then we've got permanent residents who are given permanent resident status without being citizens. Then we've got naturalized citizens. The problem here is about those who are undocumented. What we are doing now is that we do have a backlog of asylum seekers in terms of documentation, and we have set a 4-year program to try and deal with that. As far as undocumented people are concerned, Chairperson, the problem is that many people in South Africa believe it's because Home Affairs doesn't want to document them. Quite a number of people don't want to be documented because they know they are here illegally, they know they will be taken out. So at the moment, we rely on Home Affairs inspectors, the immigration inspectors, which I must accept, and I remember you mentioning it yesterday in the Portfolio Committee. It is true. Home Affairs inspectors, immigration inspectors are only 680 in the whole country. Just for your comparison, when you go to SAPS, South African Police Services, they've got about 800 or so police officials just in one airport in South Africa. But we have got only 680. I'm not trying to compete with my counterpart in SAPS, but I'm sure we have got only 680 immigration officials. So they are trying their best, they are working around the clock, but they are really not necessarily making it because of these huge numbers. And we believe, yes, the numbers will decrease once the Border Management Authority gets into operation. But for now, it is a big struggle. We have tried to increase the number of officials, but as you know, Treasury has put a ceiling on the hiring of people because our compensation for employees has got a ceiling and it has hit a ceiling. So this is the problem we are faced with. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, we will now go to question 601, asked by the Honourable Breitenbach to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. As an expression of political will and commitment to fight corruption, and within our severe financial constraints, the budget of our crime-fighting entities has remained a priority. The Department of Justice and Correctional Services is a leading department on the implementation strategy in the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster. The MTF allocation of 243 million will enable the department to fast-track the implementation of the strategy. Of this amount, the department has set aside a total amount of 122 million for the capacitation of additional specialized commercial crimes courts in order to fight fraud and corruption. The investigative directorate received a total allocation of 377.3 million over the medium-term expenditure framework period to increase its investigating capacity. Furthermore, an allocation of 305.7 million was received for the increase in capacity in the Asset Forfeiture Unit and Specialized Commercial Crimes Unit, the SSU. The National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, was allocated the additional funding amounting to 377 million during the 2020 MTFF for the establishment of the Investigative Directorate in the NPA in order to tackle corruption and reduce crime. In addition to the above, the following additional funding was also allocated to the NPA to increase capacity in both the AFU and the SSSU. Additional funding of 304 million was allocated to the AFU and the SSSU. This will find the appointment of 38 AFU staff, deputy directors of public prosecutions, state advocates, and specialized investigators, and 26 SSSU staff, DDPPs, and specialized investigators, amongst others. The total allocated budget for the sub-program National Prosecuting Services and AFU amounts to 4.1 billion. The SIU is planning to grow its headcount materially from about 613 to 850 over the MTFF period in order to meet the huge growing proclamations. Other interventions. The Department of Justice is a leading department on the implementation strategy in the justice and crime prevention cluster. The MTF allocation will enable the department to fast-track the implementation of the strategy, and the cluster's initiatives such as anti-corruption task team, co-chaired by the DCI, DPCI, and the SIU, are making strides towards tackling crime and corruption. Regular monthly meetings are intended to ensure that such matters are managed in a cooperative and efficient manner. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Breitenbach.
Thank you, House Chair. Mr. Minister, the NPA got a financial injection of 1.3 billion to indicate that the government was serious about fighting crime and particularly corruption and reversing the abysmal state of the NPA. Now 1.1 billion has been taken away, meaning that they in fact got nothing at all. They will inter alia translate into the inability to fill approximately 580 posts. What steps precisely does the Minister intend to implement in order to ensure that the small gains made against the fight against corruption are not again reversed in the face of this untimely budget cut? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you. As I've said, that we will continue to ensure that the NPA receive the necessary support and budgets that will enable it to fight.
As I've said, that we will continue to ensure that the NPA receive the necessary support and budgets. Thank you. Enable it to fight. As I've said, that we will continue to ensure that.
Honourable members, it's obvious that we do have a technical problem. The Minister hasn't been cloned. And somebody else is speaking and replying exactly what he said. So I will request that the matter be attended to immediately. You may take your seat in the meantime, Honourable Minister, so that I can just assure that this matter has been resolved. That the matter be attended to immediately. Honourable Minister, can you try again now, please?
Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Chair. As I have said earlier, that we will continue to work with the National Treasury to ensure and protect the sustainability of the budget of the department, including that of the NPA, and when necessary and practically possible, additional funding. In this regard, we have also, as I've said, added about 4 commercial crimes court that will be rolled out during this financial year, which we have brought forward to enable the continued fight against corruption. And these courts will be in the area of Mbombela and Polokwane and also in Mafikeng, with the additional one that will be in Mthatha in the next financial year. So this shows our commitment to the fight against corruption and to ensure that even during these difficult fiscal constraints, we are still able to ensure that the NPA and all the other the crime-fighting agencies have a budget that will enable them to do their work. Thank you.
Before I proceed to the next supplementary question, I will ask the honourable members on the virtual platform to switch off their microphones. The Honourable Motsepi from the EFF had her microphone on, and that is why we had a repeat of what the Minister said. So all those on the virtual platform, please switch off your microphones. It is causing unnecessary disturbance. I now recognize the Honourable Yako, who's on the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. With all this budget talk, what role has the justice system as we are now speaking on 3 gender-based violence bills? What role does the ministry have in ensuring that non-performing policemen and women in gender-based violence cases are brought to book, and that in itself is a criminal offense? Is there any budget that's been allocated in making sure that the policemen and women who are dealing with directly at front line with gender-based violence cases are allocated a separate measuring line so that they may be able to take care properly of the men and women who come forward with gender-based violence cases? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, House Chairperson. I think Honourable Yako maybe wanted to speak about the NPA, because in terms of the policemen and women is the Minister of Police. From our side, we are continuing to ensure that the NPA receive the necessary support. Hence, we continue to engage with the various structures that are relevant for budget allocation. And hence, we spoke about the Thuthuzela care centers, and where necessary, we're able to allocate the CARA funding to ensure that they're able to do their job. And the sexual unit of the NPA continue to function, and will continue to give it the support that is necessary for them to fight the scourge of gender-based violence, rape, and other femicide crimes that are there in society. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mulder through the virtual platform.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The devastation caused by state capture, corruption and maladministration has crippled and designated a department responsible for overseeing the judiciary in South Africa. The department is underspending its already constrained budget, resulting in underperformance and negatively impacting on the performance of the Special Investigation Unit and backlogs in court sessions. Can the Minister still reasonably argue that the department is still able to carry out its mandate, considering amongst other the political division in the department with elements of a factional standoff in the ruling party, the current efforts of groupings of prosecutors in Gauteng lobbying against the national prosecutor, and the crippling status of the public protector? Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. I can speak with conviction that we are rebuilding the institution, including the NPA, which has now filled almost all the vacancies of the National Deputy Directors of Public Prosecutions, and they continue to fill relevant vacancies, as I have stated that they continue to do so earlier on. And this will enable them to get the much needed human resource that will enable the NPA to function at an optimal capacity. This is also the case within the department, which also does have challenges in terms of vacancy rates and human resource challenges, which we are working currently with the Department of Public Service and Administration to help us, but we also continue to fill the necessary vacancies that will enable the department to function at an optimum level. So with this in mind, I can speak with conviction that the Constitution remains the guiding document for the NPA and the NPA Act. There can't be any factional acts that can derail the work that the NPA is supposed to do, because they are supposed to respond and deal with evidence in front of them in terms of the Constitution, in terms of the NPA Act, without any fear, favor, or prejudice to anyone, irrespective of who is the accused person. They must follow the law and ensure that the law does take its course in this country, and no one is above the Constitution or is above the NPA Act. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Swart.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, President Ramaphosa gave us the assurance in this House in response to an ACDP question that law enforcement agencies will be properly capacitated to deal with corruption and reduce crime. Now, the ACDP shares concerns about the 1.1 billion rand taken from the NPA over the medium term. In addition, Honourable Minister, the Auditor General's Office reports that up to 2.4 billion is owed to the department by other departments, and 400 million is owed to the SIU. Clearly, this is untenable. What, Honourable Minister, is being done to collect those fees that are owed to the Department of Justice and the SIU to enable it to do their job properly? I'm sure you'll agree with that. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. Indeed, I do agree that those that owe the SIU must pay the SIU for the amounts due, and such challenges are occasioned by the fact that the SIU receive a fee from the departments that is investigating, and some of the people that are supposed to pay are those that you find that the SIU is investigating. So it sometimes creates an untenable situation. But we will engage with the Minister of Finance and the colleagues in Cabinet to ensure that whatever entity or department or municipality that is under the investigation of the SIU, they do make the payments that are due. And the other debts are also caused by the challenges within the offices of the State Attorney. The fees and the disbursements incurred sometimes do not get paid by the relevant government departments, and the mechanisms are being developed to ensure that these monies are paid so that the department is able to function optimally and to the maximum capacity to enable it to discharge its constitutional responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 570 has been asked by the Honourable A.J. Beekes to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. I wish to indicate that the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans had to leave due to an emergency. The Minister of Police has, in terms of Rule 138, Sub-Rule 4, been authorised to respond to questions directed to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. Honourable Members, we wish to apologise for the inconvenience that this may cause. The Honourable Minister of Police.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm sure one of the inconveniences is that Minister of Police won't be able to have follow-ups. Having said so, the SANDF has various awareness and educational programs in place to promote the role of the South African National Defence Force as an enabler to create a safe environment to attract investors. These include A, media visits, taking national and international media organizations to the borders to create awareness of the successes of the South African National Defence Force in protecting the borders. 2 recent visits by the national media as well as the visit by International Television Network from the UK to Limpopo border with Zimbabwe, and 2 visits by national media to the Northern KwaZulu border with Mozambique. B, community engagements, various community engagements activities along the borderline, that is Izimbizo, held in Northern KwaZulu-Natal with the South African Police Service and other state organs to address matters of concern to the community. C, social media, making use of social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, to create awareness and educate the public on the successes of the South African National Defence Force and its role in contributing to the safe environment. D, edu-series, production of an educational television series, A Force for Good, on Mzansi Magic and Mzansi Way 2 channels on the multi-choice platform about the role and functions of the SANDF, not only during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also before and after the pandemic. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Beekers.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, thank you for the response. I however, want to propose the expansion of...
Honourable Member, will you just speak into the microphone, please? We can't hear you on the virtual platform either.
Thank you. Is it okay now? Thank you. I, however, want to propose the expansion of these programs to the rural areas of the Northern Cape, especially Namakwa, John Taula Gatsewe, and Pixley Kaseme regions. Honourable Minister, what is the possibility of awareness programs at schools in order to transfer the discipline that is learned and acquired in the SANDF to our youth to address nation building and social decay? Is there a process to evaluate the impact of the current programs? When last did you evaluate and review it? And what do you want to achieve through these programs? Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, we have come up front about the inconveniences that may happen. This task was given to me.
Honourable Minister, will you also just speak into the mic, please? We can't hear you.
This task was given to me while I was sitting here because the emergency for the minister came while sitting. Otherwise, I'll be doing the guesswork, and I don't think that you're allowed to do the guesswork in the House. Thank you very much.
House Chair?
Yes, Honourable Member.
I think it's only fair, House Chair, that we protect the Minister from himself and agree with him that that was a question he simply could not be expected to answer.
No, we won't protect him from himself. We will protect him from the situation that has been caused by the inconvenience that was preempted that the Minister recognized. Is there another question? Honourable Members, in terms of that first question, it was very specific in terms of future plans, and it's unfair for the Minister to speculate on behalf of another Minister what the programs will be and where the resources will be available. So the Minister, thank you for standing in. However, he will not be able to answer very specific issues in terms of the departmental plans going forward. So general questions we may entertain, but the specific ones he won't be able to answer. The Honourable Mafanya. The Honourable Mafanya from the EFF.
Thanks, Chair. Chairperson. Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Member, please continue.
Is Honourable Mkonto. I will take the question on behalf. I will ask the question on behalf of Honourable Mafanya.
Please proceed.
Thanks, Chair. Minister, in view of the number of soldiers who get arrested in committing fraud and heinous crimes like stealing weapons at military bases, how do you intend salvaging the trust deficit our communities and international community has suffered due to such acts? Thanks, Chair.
Honourable Minister.
Well, Chairperson, I will suppose that this question is generic. That could have been asked about the police. Since this is our sister organization that we work together with, and we need almost similar responses when such things happen. For instance, we'll understand that there is a causa matter where the matter was taken to court, and we were found as a government and the department were found wanting, and we intend to respond to that by getting involved with the family, and we see how we go forward. But we must also remember that there are structures, even in the SANDF, that looking like the defense ombudsperson that is looking after these matters when it's come. So when the report then comes, and then the minister will have to act on the report as suggested by the ombudsperson, but those that commit crime within the force, as they would within the service of the police, they'll have to face the might of the law like any other criminal. But we also know that, especially outside the country, the issues of the South African National Defence Force are tried by the special courts of military courts, but when they're inside the country, are investigated by the South African police and follow the ordinary criminal ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Sukas. Is the Honourable Sukas on the virtual platform?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I am, Chair. Can you hear me?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, I have adapted my question in light of the fact that of the current situation. So my question to you is, Honourable Minister, could you expand on the cooperation between the South African Police Services and the SANDF in national emergency situations such as the lockdown period and the gang violence in the Western Cape? What valuable lessons has been learned from those from that period? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, the question is specific with the Western Cape, but also generic because it has happened in the Republic of South Africa recently when the capacity of the police was supplemented and supported by the South African National Defence Force. Chairperson, the South African National Defence Force will be always there to support the capacity of the South African Police Service. Unless there is a state of emergency, then the National Defence takes over and the police supports the National Defence Force. But since the dawn of the democracy, we have not had the state of emergency. What then happens? The police will go to the Minister of Police will go to the Minister of Defense and request the support. And the Minister of Defense will go to the President and say there is a situation as it has happened in Western Cape. And the President will engage the Minister of Defense on that, and the protocols will be developed to prove that indeed such things is necessary. And then the President, if he grants the permission for the Minister of Defense, will in few days report to the Parliament to say the soldiers will be utilized to support the police. And it will be a very specific period, a very specific number, a very specific area, and a very specific reason for that to happen. If then there is a need and that specific period expires, we'll come back to make a further request. If the President deems that is still okay, it will extend on that. That's what has happened in the Western Cape. And remember, while that was in process, then the generic deployment of the soldiers came under the rule of the disaster management. That's a situation and that's an arrangement, Honourable Chair. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Minister. I now recognize the Honourable Marais.
Thank you, Chairperson. And if this is maybe too specific, I would appreciate if the Minister of Defence can give a written response. I'm sure that the Defence Minister and the Minister of Police will agree our land and maritime borders are like sieves, and anyone can cross easily without much repercussions. This is not conducive to investors' confidence. given the wasteful expenses, for instance, unnecessary travels to Zimbabwe and unauthorized medicine imports that must be stopped. Will the Minister of Defence commit herself to the reprioritization of funds specifically to increase our border patrol units to 25 and properly resource and equip them, and prioritize maritime security by the completion and the payment of the Project Hotel hydrographic vessel and Project Biro, the three inshore patrol vessels, and also prioritize the procurement of aircraft and equipment to 35 Squadron for maritime patrols and responses. I thank you.
Yes, that's a very specific question that the Minister of Defence will be able to reply to, but also, honourable members, I want to remind you that a follow-up question only consists of one supplementary question, not a number of questions. Is there anything you want to respond to, Honourable Minister of Police?
Not necessarily, as you say, is a multiple and almost new questions on that. I will make fairness to the question by referring it to the Minister of Defence to provide the answer on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Marais, we will ensure that the supplementary question gets to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans so that you can get a response.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Honourable
Thank you very much.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Will you please also ensure that the follow-up question of Ms. Bekes also gets a written response?
Yes, we'll deal with all the follow-up questions in the same way where the Minister who is standing in is not able to provide specifics. Thank you very much. Question number 557 has been asked by the Honourable Sheikh Imam to the Minister of Police. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The answer would be the investigation into these cases are continuing. The South African Police Service cannot disclose the specific methods used to apprehend the suspects, since the publication of such information will defeat the objective of the investigation. 2, all the cases are investigated, and as soon as relevant information has been obtained, the case dockets will be referred to the National Prosecuting Authority for decision on the prosecution. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Sheikh Imam will take the first supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, the husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, children, and loved ones are reeling with shock, pain, and anguish from the brutal shooting or murders of all these citizens, with no response, no closure whatsoever. Yusuf Didat, Colin Patel, Nadarajan Naidu, Arvita Dudat, Bilkis Hussain, Shireen Kalicharan, Tavendran Naikam, all these 15 names that I have sent to you, Minister. These people do not have no closure whatsoever. Now, why is the department taking such a long time when it comes to some of these murders, but other murders are prioritized, and within a very short space of time, you have arrests being made? Could you kindly tell me, and even if it means in writing, comprehensive report as to what do we tell these people who cannot even sleep peacefully because of no closure with their loved ones, having lost their loved ones?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, Chairperson, I see the names that has been sent by the Honourable Member. The crux of the matter is that there will be cases that will take much longer than the other cases, and there will be cases that will be easier and be easy to crack them much quicker. Not necessarily because there is a priority on those cases, because police have been exposed to the easier and easier information with a cooperation, Honourable Chair, with the cooperation of the South Africans that will come forward and say, we have this information, here it is. So it cannot then be true to say there are no other cases besides these that are taking much longer. There is a case here that all of us, we have been really getting a hide on it, Senzo Mehiwa case that is 6 years, though we are somewhere now, we're going forward. But this comparison to say there are those that are prioritized, there are those, and I hope that kind of information and that kind of issue raised by the honorable member it should not be inclined towards any form of racial connotations. I really refuse to be part of any racial connotations when it comes to the investigation of crime. Crime is crime, and crime is committed by criminals. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your race, it doesn't matter what religion. Crime is crime, and it will be investigated as such. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Jumat Peterson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Given the responses which you have given us today, and thank you very much for those responses, we have seen that the number of unresolved cases in our case in the country as a whole, that number is being reduced considerably. How do you think we'll be able to continue this trajectory where we, as you said, we can speed up the resolution of these cases? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, maybe one thing that we don't do, but I have spoken to the people that are responsible for statistics, crime statistics, that maybe in a certain given time, we'll have to begin to give some specific cases that South Africans have been taken about them and they've been up there to say is not just the murder and these figures of murder cases that have been resolved, but there must be some specific.
Just a gating.
Honourable Makalipi, will you switch off your microphone? Please continue, Honourable Minister.
Sorry, Chair, sorry.
There must be a way of coming back. Chairperson, as the honourable member says, when you sit down and you look at serious crimes that have made the lot of waves in South Africa, many of them have been resolved. Maybe it will be important to say when we give these crime stats and then we come to some specific, even with the gender-based violence. For instance, in the month of July, Chairperson, there were 28 women in South Africa that were murdered, all in the hands of the people they know, and all those people were arrested. But when you get the information is that 28 people died, and then you do not know that all 28 people were arrested after that. I agree with him. There are serious breakthroughs that are made by the South African police and the justice criminal system going forward, and we will continue to make sure that there are some specific reports coming back. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The Honourable Shembeni.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will stand in for Honourable Shembeni. Minister, the Western Cape alone have a very high crimes rate. So did the minister ever try to change his provincial leadership to see if better and capable people can do the job in the province? Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
Well, the Provincial Commissioner of Western Cape is less than a year. That is here. If that is a change the Honourable Member is talking about, yes, we have a new Provincial Commissioner here, and we are appointing new deputies and all that. But the other issue, Chairperson, is that we work in the whole chain of justice system, even here in Western Cape. But maybe one thing that we were not talking much about is that there will be arrest, and as police do arrest people in Western Cape, what we need to work much on the Western Cape are preventions that people don't die. Because after the death, including the infamous one of Kukuletu, where 8 people were killed, we have arrested people. 4 of people have been arrested. We arrested them in Eastern Cape at Kofimvaba, and we have linked those people direct and positively that they are involved in the killing. So we do make arrests. What we need to work much on is that people should not die, because it doesn't help much whether you arrest when people are gone. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Majosi.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Minister, in the process of bringing criminals to book, in the past, the issue of lost dockets has plagued the criminal justice system in this country, and in light of the response from the Minister gave to me, purporting that South African Police Service is in the process of transitioning from the use of the crime administration system with case historical documentation to a website accessible investigation case docket management system. Therefore, given that procedurally, the responsibility rests with the police official who opens and verifies a case and the details therein to ensure that a crime is registered correctly. What checks and balances will exist to ensure that no individual has complete autonomy over a single case to prevent SAPS officials from defeating and obstructing the ends of justice? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson. It is on that score that not just as the South African police, but as a system, as criminal justice cluster, to say we need to emigrate from the physical dockets and all that and put them in the system, starting from the police station and going to the prosecution and going to the magistrate, up to the last end of the system where the correctional service, as those people get released there, from the very first point, we know that what is happening. So we agree with that. But at the present moment that we are there, dockets are supposed to be having some backup information, so that when we lose them, we are able to go and retrieve the backup information as it's happening. And unfortunately, the dockets do not only get lost with the police, but they do get lost in the whole system going forward. That's why it is important what the system, that the criminal justice system will have to do. It will have to put everybody on board so that we know where the trouble happens. So we are working on that in technology. We are trying to get money for that. Some money that will help on those is Kara money, and trying to raise some other money to make sure that the system is improved and the system is intact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, we will now proceed to question number 573 that has been asked by the Honourable Nkosi to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. I've been informed that the Honourable Deputy Minister will be answering the questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Consultations with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has led to a decision which was approved by Cabinet that a sword-turning event should form part of South Africa's legacy projects during our chairship of the AU. However, Chairperson, a letter dated 6 March 2020 from the Minister for Public Works and Infrastructure highlighted the reasons for the delay in the finalization of the project as follows. In 2010, subsequent to extensive environmental impact assessments, the proposed construction site, namely portion 442 of the farm Reinkiesfontein 405 JR in Midrand, was found by the experts to be a wetland. It was determined that any activities on that land were and would always remain illegal. In addition, Chairperson, In August 2019, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure was made aware that the portion measuring 20 hectares of the site that has been earmarked for the construction of the PUB's headquarters has been registered under new private ownership. The Minister for Public Works and Infrastructure undertook to launch a forensic investigation into the matter. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation appreciates the need for the forensic investigation regarding the previously identified site for the PUB headquarters. However, Chairperson, in fulfillment of our long-standing obligation to PUB to provide a permanent headquarters, a request has been made to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure for the speedy identification and procurement of an alternative site. In this regard, further guidance from the department is awaited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nkosi.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and thank you, Deputy Minister, for the comprehensive response. It should be noted that this matter has been long on the agenda of DECO, and that over long, it may cause a credibility issue with us, particularly in the AU. The follow-up question is whether this expeditious identification and procurement of an alternative site, as indicated by the Ministry, will be linked to the forensic investigation by the DPWI, or it will be a separate process. Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much for the question from Honourable Nkosi. Chairperson, first and foremost, there is an obligation for us to undertake that substantive forensic investigation so that we are able to bring the alleged perpetrators to book. But secondly, we have a concurrent and equally important obligation, Chairperson, to honor the commitment made by South Africa to the African Union to permanently secure the headquarters of the Pan-African People's Parliament within South Africa. So it's mutually enforceable, but it's interrelated, but it's also independent, Chairperson. But we have an obligation to provide that type of permanent infrastructure.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Bergman.
Thank you, Chair. Besides the actual Pan-African Parliament building sites that we have to identify, I'm sure that we've learnt a lot since our temporary Parliament days at Gallagher's and have experienced in this area. Can the Deputy Minister please inform this House what other costs can our country be looking to contribute over and above our membership fees to entertain the requests from the Secretariat that will fall out of the scope of their operational budget and come from our fiscal budget as hosts to this Parliament on an annual basis, like in what we would call the hidden costs or the VIP requests, shall we say? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, to Honourable Bergman. I think the South African government conducts its business in accordance with the Public Financial Management Act, Chairperson. It therefore holds that all costs are normally predetermined in terms of the budgetary provisions, and therefore there would be no hidden costs that we will be able to make provisions for apart from what has been voted for in terms of this House. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable KRJ Meshu.
Thank you, House Chairperson. In July 2015, Public Works Department spokesperson said the construction of the bulk civil engineering works of the Pan-African Parliament started in 2009, but had to be stopped after the Department of Environmental Affairs issued a prohibition notice. in response to a concern raised by the committee about the delays. We were informed that the minister was in constant communication with the Minister of Public Works since the beginning of March this year. Now, what I want to ask Deputy Minister is whether the department has approached property companies in Gauteng for assistance regarding available and appropriate land that can be used for the construction of the Pan-African Parliament, because it is an embarrassment that it has taken 11 years just to identify a suitable land to construct the required building. And if not, why not?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you very much to Reverend Meshwa. Chairperson, I think it's important to take the House in confidence that there was in April 2009 township establishment that has been approved, which was inclusive at that time of opinion by environmental independent expert. Subsequent to that fact, Chairperson, government then, after we actually did more substantive environmental assessments, came to discover that there has been fraud committed. There was misrepresentation by the specialist. The person has been referred to the relevant authorities, was convicted and sentenced, and we can report, of course, to the House that the person subsequently also have passed on. So the second issue, Chairperson, which is a very important issue, is that Public Works, in terms of GIAMA, is the custodian in relation to infrastructure and property, including accommodation purposes on behalf of the South African government. And it is my submission that any new due diligence will include a strengthening of partnership as it relates to the role that your private property experts will have to bring to the fore. And I think that is part of the social compact which President Ramaphosa actually have made as a proposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The fourth supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Msane from the EFF.
Thank you very much, Chair. The department has known for more than 16 years that it needs to provide permanent housing for the Pan-African Parliament. It must be highlighted that when the project to house the Pan-African Parliament was abandoned, approximately 90 million rands had been spent by the Department of Public Works on the project. Whilst America is benefiting from housing the UN, and Ethiopia is benefiting from housing the OAU, South Africa is displaying its incompetence to the world. Can the Deputy Minister tell the public how much of the public purse has been spent on the rental for the Pan-African Parliament at Gallagher Estate? How much would have been saved if the government of South Africa had just done the right thing? And what would be the implications if other member states were to agree to move the Pan-African Parliament to Egypt? Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you very much, Honourable Msane. I think the first important point that we have to make, Chairperson, is that the PAP is part of the overall organs of the African Union in terms of your Abuja Treaty, etc. And we have made a commitment as South Africa to host permanently, to provide a permanent certainty through permanent infrastructure for this very august institution. It is, like we have said, it's very unfortunate that it has taken considerable time for us to look at the environmental unsuitability of the initially identified site. And I think that is important. So government had the initially identified site that adhered to the basic requirements as it relates to PAP is concerned. The fact that environmental studies has actually related that we won't be able to to host that specific site. We have made a commitment earlier, and we have said it's a corresponding obligation to actually identify alternative site. In as far as the more cost implication as it relates to rentals is concerned, Honorable Chairperson, my submission is that we would be able to, via the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, forward that specific cost details to the House. The last issue, Chairperson, there is absolutely no reason, and there should be no concern from members in the House that the delay in acquiring the permanent headquarters for PUB will actually propel a review of the decision to host. As we are speaking, we are actually providing a temporary infrastructure in Midrand, and we'll continue to do that, Chairperson, with the more urgency at our disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, I will now hand over to the Honourable Deputy Speaker, who will continue presiding over this session. The Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much. The next question is question 592, asked by Honourable A.G. Whitefield to the Minister of Police.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The current total backlog of DNA samples for all categories of analysis at the South African Police Service Forensic Science Laboratories is reflected in the table below. I'll go for totals, which those totals will be in Eastern Cape, there are 2,667, those are backlogs. KwaZulu-Natal, 3,204. And then those that are supposed to be dealt with the head office is 72,467. In Western Cape is 39,400. And the total would be 117,736. The categories of DNA analysis with the highest backlog are as follows. ROI intelligence is 52,317. DNA intelligence is 34,985 entries, and then booked out 26,316 entries. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable Whitefield, it's your turn to have the first bite.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In the second and third quarter of the 2019-2020 financial year, the performance in DNA analysis declined by 20% and 74% respectively from quarter one. This means that you knew last year already that a significant backlog in DNA case exhibits was developing at your forensic laboratories, denying thousands of people the justice they deserve. In one case in Port Elizabeth, a man accused of raping his friend's mother was released on bail. This man, while on bail, is suspected to have then proceeded to rape and kill 5-year-old Chantal Mokoena. He raped and beat a 5-year-old girl to death with a rock and dumped her in an outhouse near her home. He has not yet been prosecuted due to a lack of basic consumables at your forensic laboratories, allowing him to walk free. As a result of the failure of the criminal justice system, Chantal Mokwena's mother took the law into her own hands and, with the help of community members, cut off his penis. Chantal's mother was swiftly arrested for attempted murder, removed from her breastfeeding infant, and imprisoned. Sadly, these stories are becoming far too common in our broken society. One wonders how many thousands of heinous crimes could have been prevented if DNA analysis was not delayed or bungled by your department. Minister, it is not yet clear whether the cause of this failure of SAPS to perform basic DNA analysis timeously is a case of incompetence or corruption. If it is corruption, what have you, Minister, done to ensure that those responsible for this gross injustice have been brought to book? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. One hears very well from Mr. Whitefield, but ours is to explain and correct. Chairperson, the question that is put on us at the end of the day, is it corruption or incompetence? As we all know, that the head of laboratories, which happened to be General Patlane, has been facing the court issues for some time now, and that has led to the National Commissioner firing him, but there are court issues going on. That happened together with the head, General Shezi, of technology.
Proceed, Honorable. Yeah.
Which technology works together with the laboratories on these matters. So there's been a lot of corruption that has been involved here, but that has been addressed. For instance, both generals I'm talking about have been fired, and they are facing the court proceedings going forward. Then that has been done. But also, there have been some contradictions between CETA and the South African Police Service dealing with the matter of technologies that impacts on the laboratories. But we are correcting that. For instance, there is a new head now of the laboratories, and there is a new acting head of the working on the TNS, which is a technology of the South African Police. And going forward, these things are corrected. The new equipment is put. We have dates, we have time frames that by this time, this would have been corrected. We believe with that correction, the situation will be better, and the situation shall never be allowed to be where it is now and where we have picked it up going forward. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable, the next supplementary is taken by Honorable Mapatsu.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I would just like to know from the Minister that what is the provincial breakdown of these backlogs of forensic science laboratories? And do all the provinces have the necessary and requisite material resources to process such backlogs? And lastly, what is the due date expected for the elimination of the current backlog, and what plans are afoot to decrease the expected growth in the backlog? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You and the previous member, Honorable Whitfield, asked several questions now. You must remember that the rules say the supplementary questions are limited, so we must try and comply and or prioritize, indicate which one of all the questions you'd rather be answered so that we have proper attention to each of the questions that each member asks. Honorable Minister.
Does that mean I have a choice to answer a few questions?
Sumbuza.
Chairperson, there are 4 provinces that have a serious problem on that. That would be your Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, and Gauteng, but also the head office. But mechanisms have been put to correct the situation. One major problem that the department has faced has been a poor management of the contracts. There have been terrible way of managing the contracts when it comes to that. And then now we are correcting that. For instance, 11 contracts have been awarded, and 3 will be awarded soon, and 5 of those will be awarded in the next coming few months. And there have been the shortage of the personnel. 175 post-promotion were advertised. There are 13 posts that were, have been internal and were taking people from outside. And then there are 40 lateral explosive posts that were advertised, 69 reinvestment application considered. And this needs to happen within this financial year, and then making sure that the reversal and correction is done within the next financial year. One other thing has been the problem of budget that has impacted negatively when it comes to these science laboratories, but the money by the National Commission of 250 million has been found, which has improved the way going forward. That will be the situation, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The third supplementary question is asked by Honorable Shembeni.
Deputy Speaker, I will take the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, to build the capacity in dealing with the backlog of DNA samples, is any plans to train people who are in this field in resolving crime? If yes, Minister, which institution is the Minister is engaging with to have a full forensic science course at undergraduate level in South Africa? If not, what is your plan, Minister?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, the Honorable Member. Chairperson, we have just tried to walk our way back. In 2010-2011, the South African police recruited 100 BSCs. The students that were just the graduates of BSCs, and some the master in sciences. They've grown and they've given us the capacity, but as we all know, the organization needs to grow. We do have relationship with several institutions and the several organizations that we work with on these matters. Hardly, if we did not have the COVID, the Deputy Minister of the South African Police has visited some serious institutions like the FBI, like the Scotland Yard, to be able to create a scientific academy of the South African Police. The site has been identified in Soshanguve. We're working together with the Department of Higher Education so that people are trained internally on the top way that science will be used in South Africa. If it were not for COVID-19, we would have started by now. The money for that is there, but we are working with especially these two huge institutions, FBI and Scotland Yard, to make sure that we increase that capacity. Once everything normalizes, we will begin on the process to make sure that we have a full capacity on scientific issues within the South African Police. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Majosi, it's your turn to ask the last supplementary question.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, police officers are frequently perceived to have passive, disbelieving and negative attitudes towards rape and sexual offences, which contributes greatly to inadequate performance in sexual crimes. Has the Minister considered implementing training programs on police attitudes towards sexual offences? If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? Thank you. And can I request something on Deputy Speaker, that the Minister, can he pull the mic closer to the mouth so that we are able to hear him? We can't hear.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, I have pulled it very close now. Chairperson, this question is Deputy Speaker, this question is being repeated. It was answered on the way coming here, but I will revisit the question. And one other thing that I would like to correct, that police are perceived as people that don't want to do the work. It cannot be true. As I have said, we have few rotten apples within the back of the South African police, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands South African police members that are doing their work diligently and very committed to the cause. I have given the figures, Chairperson, of people that have been sent to life sentence. That happens because if so many people go to life sentence, and many of them go to long sentences like 50 years, 40 years, 30, 70, and all that, because somebody has done his or her work properly. For you to get life sentence, which means somebody did a very good investigation that will take you through the processes for you to get the sentence. So I would urge that members must really lambast those police that are corrupt and doing their work, but also they must give a pat on the shoulders of those police that are doing their work so that we encourage them to continue to do so. I have given the figures of the people that were training, that there are 312. I have given that we're working with the Special Advocate de Kock to make sure that there are people that are trained to sit on the specialized desk in different police stations. I have given the answer that we're working on the units, given the figures in some of the units. So it's what we're doing to make sure that we work harder with the gender-based violence and improve to defend and make sure that those that commit those crimes are punished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The next question is 580, is asked by Honorable Yako to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The department is aware of gang members that are incarcerated in correctional facilities. The department has a gang management strategy in place and is currently reviewing the strategy into a gang combating strategy, which will be accompanied by implementation plan to counter strategies and new techniques used by the gangs. Amongst the interventions, there is consultation and collaboration with law enforcement agencies under the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster, the JCPS cluster. This effective collaboration has shown successes in combating gangsterism in our facilities and has yielded positive results in management areas with high numbers of incarcerated gang members, such as the St. Albans management area. Our standard operating procedures are in place, which include conducting searches in correctional facilities, confiscated contraband, such as SIM cards and cellular phones, are handed over to crime intelligence for further operationalization and processing. Through these collaborative initiatives, numerous officials were arrested for being linked to gangs. We are also in the process of reviewing DCS security protocol through the review of B order and enhancing such a protocol. Further, in discouraging gang activities, identified gang leaders have been transferred to various correctional facilities. Offenders found to be transgressing are charged, disciplined, degraded in line with the department policies, transferred to maximum facilities. The gang combating strategy seeks to enhance the promotion of gang-free environment and equal opportunities for all inmates in a safe and secure correctional facility. On admission, inmates are profiled, assessments are conducted, photos taken of tattoos or symbols, which indicates community gang, prison gang affiliation. In addition, orientation on institutional orders and health screening is also conducted. The correctional sentence plan is in operation to outline the relevant correctional programs to be attended by the offenders to address their criminal behavior. The behavioral modification program is crucial for countering gang activity. It empowers inmates if they are being groomed for gangs. The department is moving towards intelligence-driven security posture. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Yako.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Has the Minister held any of the regional commissioners responsible since his appointment as minister for failing to ensure that there are no cell phones, which are contraband, by the way, that enters correctional facilities, as they are ultimately accountable for any contravention of rules of correctional facilities? If not, how can we trust that any of his measures will work if we cannot deal with management and they are not held accountable? Recently, in a committee, we were told that there's numerous unnatural deaths in prisons, and when we asked why there's such, the response was that there were no contraband material. And I asked myself, how can prisoners be able to kill themselves when there is no contraband material that is allowed within prisons? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Speaker, senior officials have been held accountable, in particular at the institution, the management area, the Durban Westville management area. There has been actions that has been taken, which processes are still underway. And from time to time, where officials are found, there is action that is being taken to ensure accountability on these issues. I just don't have the number now, but if required, we could provide to the honorable member. We ensure that it does happen from time to time, that there is accountability and consequence management for failure to deal with that. With regards to the issue of whether there is no contraband inside and so forth, every time there is a search, we discover contraband, Honorable Deputy Speaker. So there is a loophole that enables inmates to get these contrabands. Thank you.
Thank you. The next supplementary question is asked by Honorable Mola.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister.
Honorable Mabi, please switch off your mic. Okay, go ahead, Honorable Member.
Minister, the challenge of gangsterism in our correctional centers has been widely reported, and we appreciate the policies and strategies which have been put in place to address this challenge. What are other additional measures in place to deal with gangs in correctional facilities, including rehabilitation programs offered to identified gang members? We know there's been massive work that has been done by the department. We just want the progress report. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Our additional measures to address the challenge at hand across all centers, DCL's officials are sensitized to comply with the security policies and standard operating procedures by ensuring that proper and regular searches of inmates, officials, visitors, and service providers are conducted at access control points. Emergency security teams, EST, are available in each management area to act swiftly when information is received regarding smuggling of contrabands, and work closely with the JCPS cluster departments and other state organs to deal with such matters. Furthermore, non-gang members are separated from non-gang members. Non-gang members are separated from non-gang members, older offenders and vulnerable offenders, in order to discourage gang activities. They are integrated irrespective of gang affiliation. All gang and non-gang related incidents are investigated internally and reported to the South African Police Service for criminal investigation. On the other hand, the department also offers rehabilitation programs to offenders, which are compulsory, especially for identified gang members. These include, but not limited to, new beginnings with life skills-based training, anger in and anger out, which deals with aggression, changing lanes for offenders sentenced for murder, female program, as we also have female gangs, youth programs, pre-release, and behavior modifications on gangsterism. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable J. Self.
Deputy Speaker, I don't know about the Minister, but I get large numbers of calls out of prisons, normally late at night or in the early hours of the morning, normally asking for parole or asking for conditions and so on. Now, if I get those calls, you may be perfectly certain that criminal gang bosses are getting those calls. Now, the only one way to stop those calls from being made from prison is to jam the cell phone and use cell phone jamming devices. Will the Minister tell us what steps, if any, he is taking to jam cell phone calls from and to prison?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's true what Honorable Jemself is saying. I also receive the calls demanding paroles and all kind of things from the inmates. And I have instructed the National Commissioner to look into the matter. How are we going to deal with this issue of the calls being made from inside and the inmates having access to the outside world? And I'm aware that there's discussion between the department and the cell phone telecom service providers in terms of means to explore some of the issues, including what Honorable Self has said. But as you are aware, there are regulations that we'll have to comply with and various issues of compliance in terms of the law and interceptions of telecommunications, communications in the country. So upon completion of that process, we'll be able to announce what and how we're going to deal with it in terms of this issue, because the other reality is that communication may also need to continue to function within the facilities, but we're exploring whether the telecom lines that are there or any lines that might still be fixed, will it still function, and all those kind of activities. Because this, some of these communications also work for internet service provider that might be necessary and so forth. So all those things are being considered. And we will, as time allow and when we are sure of what steps to be taken, be able to inform the public. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Sheikh.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, I think the problem is bigger than that, Minister. The question that one needs to ask is, your prison warders, I believe there's a high level of corruption in these prisons. How is it that cell phones are allowed to enter, calls are allowed to be made, airtime is being provided? And I agree with Honorable Self, I get calls from the prison all the time. I can even give you some numbers. The problem is bigger, and I think the problem comes to, we have such a high level of corruption in South Africa at the moment, and the prisons are no exception. What measures do you put in place, or what precautions can you take, or let me rephrase that. How many of your prison warders have been found guilty thus far in the last financial year of not performing their duties satisfactorily, because they should be taking responsibility for what is happening inside these prisons? Now, it's not only the cell phones, drugs are also entering the prison. And yes, these crimes that are committed outside are also planned inside. So I think the problem is bigger. What additional measures can you put? And starting by dealing with your prison warders who are not doing what they're supposed to do.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. There are consequence management processes that are happening. For example, from 118 reported cases, a total of 82 investigations have been finalized. 19 out of 56 disciplinary cases finalized resulted in dismissals. 20 out of 56 disciplinary cases finalized resulted in final written warnings. 7 officials were given leave without pay. 2 were correctively punished. 4 resigned before the disciplinary processes was finalized and were found not guilty. So there is a process that we deal with when such acts of misconduct have been discovered, the disciplinary processes of the departments kicks in. And from time to time, we show no mercy to these kind of activities. But as the Honorable Sheikh has said, from time to time, there will be a system lapse, and there will be a conscious lapse in terms of corruption by some of the officials, which enables these contrabands to come in. Obviously, this needs further work in terms of consequence management, but also in terms of strengthening our own system, in terms of modernization, that will enable us to deal with these things such as body scanners and necessary technology. And that is what we are exploring, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 575 has been asked by Honorable Patrain to the Minister of Police.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The question and providing the answer that the South African Police Service, as essential service, has continued to provide its service to victims of both domestic violence and gender-based violence throughout all the different levels of the COVID-19 regulations. Since the introduction of the COVID-19 regulations, the SAPS intensified its visibility to enforce the provision of the Disaster Management Act. But the provisioning of police services to the community did not change. The relaxation of the regulation to level 1 has not affected the service, which are provided to victims of crime. We continue to provide that service. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Patrain.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, given the fact that gender-based violence is a societal problem and not just a criminal justice matter, how successful is SAPS in working with all stakeholders to address this scourge of GBV? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Well, unfortunately,
how successful are you?
I lost the question on the mix of the MAP and others as the question was asked. So I did not hear the question very well.
She wants to know how successful you've been in combating gender-based violence.
Well, that success cannot be determined by ourselves. There are other people that need to determine that. But as I have said, Chairperson, we have given the numbers, we have given the responses of the structures that we have put there. We have continued to do the work. Some people would say the success is minimal, some people will say is medium, some will say is zero. For that to measure the success, we'll leave it to the community and society of South Africa to tell us that. What we need to do is to correct those areas that are pointed as our weaknesses and impacting negatively. One of those things, Honorable Deputy Speaker, is the response of our personnel, especially at the level of the police stations, when the gender-based violence are coming to report and how our police treat them. But as we have said, and the person who asked the question did say that we deal also with a societal matter. To expand our success, last Friday, Deputy Speaker, we invited the Amakosi through COCTA, Amakosi in Republic of South Africa and royalty to engage with them. How can we deal with the matters, especially the support of the traditional structures, especially the support of the families. One major problem that we face on the gender-based violence is a withdrawal of these cases, and you discover that the families and society supports the perpetrator rather than the victim. They go to the victim and say, withdraw the case because it's embarrassing that your uncle is being arrested and all that. So we will urge that society must support the victims of gender-based violence rather than supporting the perpetrators. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next supplementary question, the second, is asked by Honorable O.S. Terblanche.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, you told us now that you are not very sure about your own successes, but I think something that is sure, though, is that women and children remain the victims of gender-based violence. That was the situation during lockdown and also as lockdown regulations were gradually relaxed. Minister, you and your department made very firm commitments on how you plan to manage this situation down. Is your plan working, Minister? Is it fully implemented by now? And what is the percentage decrease in terms of the numbers achieved thus far? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Terblanche. Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, it will be presumptuous for us to say we'll stand here and judge ourselves. So I think it is proper to say at the end of the day, as the National Development Plan says, that South Africans must feel safe and they must be safe and they must feel safe. So I think it's fair to leave the judgment to the society out there. The specific question, under the regulations of the lockdown, indeed, the gender-based violence, including the rape and abuse of women, has gone down, tremendously so. If you look at the second quarter that we have just given, though the numbers are bad, the numbers are 8,000 in 3 months, but they remain less than the figures of the same time previous year. But Chairperson, we are saying we claim no easy victories and we tell no lies, because we understand that conditions were very different. For instance, there was no alcohol. I don't care what people say about alcohol, whether they call somebody a minister of alcohol. The crux of the matter, alcohol is one of the main generators of serious crime. Both murder and rape is generated by alcohol. So it wasn't there. The second one, there was a high visibility. There was a high visibility of enforcement personnel, both the soldiers and the police. There is also the argument that these figures are down because people could not go out there and report. That is on the table to be there are no facts about that, but it's an argument that is there. But as we speak at the present moment, figures of the abuse, including rape and domestic violence, are down under lockdown. Thank you very much, Chair.
Good Minister. Honorable Majosi asks the third supplementary question.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, there is a disproportionate allocation of resources within family violence, child protection and sexual offences units across the country. Urban-based units are better resourced than townships and rural-based units. This continues to be the case even when the number of cases handled by the township and rural-based units are greater than their urban counterparts. What interventions plans are in place to tackle disproportionate allocation of resources within the FCS unit and furnish details on the progress of these interventions plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Minister.
Well, thanks, Chair. Again, this question was asked, maybe it was heard and it's still now. But the question of proportionality, we did say that we've got 30 top stations in the country of the gender-based violence and rape. That kind of information, by the way, the South African Police Service statistics is not just to inform the public what is happening, but is also used to reallocate the resources trying to fight the gender depending how serious that station is. To say that the urban and township township stations are less resourced, I don't think that is very sexual. One of the highly resourced stations is Umlazi, which is a township. One is Inanda, which is both the township and the villages all put together. We are informed in that because of the intensity and the weight of this crime that has been committed in those places. If you look at top 30 stations, we will be removing sometimes or moving the resources to that particular station because at that particular time there is an extra work that to be done. But also, I said we've got 10 other FCS units that are sent in that particular area where there is a problem in that particular time to enhance and make sure that there is an extra capacity given in that particular area. So we are informed by these stats, but we are also informed about understanding the situation. There are 1,153 police stations in South Africa, 30 of them are bad, and then the concentration will be where there is more weight of those particular crime in that particular time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The next supplementary question is asked by Honorable Sukers.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, since allocating resources for the response to urban violence, like providing more shelters and helplines for women and children, easier recording of data on GBV crimes, and speedier ways to acquire protection orders can reduce the burden on police, have any inter-departmental steps been taken to press for such? If so, what are the relevant details? And if not, do you intend to do so?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Yes, Chairperson. That will be part of the training to say members of the South African Police Service, they need to respond to the calls made by the victims, but also to respond and take serious the question of the interdicts that are granted to the victims. We have discovered that there is a lack of understanding and appreciation of seriousness of these interdicts. Sometimes they are delayed to be implemented. Sometimes they are delayed to be delivered to the people that are supposed to. In the meanwhile, the abuse sometimes culminating on the death of the victim while we are busy delaying. So there's an orientation to say police must take extra caution and extra speed. As we have said, this has been declared as a second pandemic, so extra ways, extra emergencies by the South African police will have to be done. So, and we have escalated the consequences of the members, to the members of the South African Police that are not working on this matter. As such, Chairperson, maybe we will try to supply that in the members of this House. The South African Police has given the directory of members from the Minister of Police, National Commissioner, all commanders of the stations, 1,153 of them, all deputy commissioners, all divisional. So these are the numbers that we are supplying to public to be able to speak and phone and find anybody and everybody that can provide some form of assistance. So we are simply saying police members must be available to and the communities must have an access to the members so that we are able to respond, but we also know exactly where, at what point the police are not doing their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dosi. Direct. Honorable members, the next question is 559, asked by Honorable Mufokeng to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. There is notable progress with the construction of the Mamelodi Magistrate Court, following a number of hurdles which were experienced by the contractor, Figile Construction Pty Ltd. The construction is now at 73% completion, with the following work having been completed: main brickwork, roofing, and some internal finishings. The outstanding work includes electrical and mechanical works, air conditioners and lifts, internal and external finishings, painting, tiling, plumbing, and woodwork, road work, paving, telephones, court recording equipment, and security installation. The delay in completing the project is attributed to a number of challenges, including the delay in the approval of an extension of time claims and variation orders, and interruptions caused by the local community believed to have been caused by failure by the contractor to appoint local people to the project. These have since been resolved, and the project is earmarked for completion by November 2021. The building is victim-friendly and will boost modern technology to enhance efficiency. One of the courtrooms will be a dedicated sexual offences court with audio-visual links to a private testifying room for victims of gender-based violence and sexual offences to avoid secondary victimization and trauma. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Mufokeng.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you for the response, Minister. Minister, in your response, you showed that there are challenges, and among others, it was the issue of the approval from the Tshwane municipality of Tshwane. Has this issue been rectified, and how will the department, together with the Department of Public Works and the contractors, engage with the community members to ensure that the remaining 27% of the construction is not disrupted? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, the Tshwane municipality has advised us that it is at an advanced stage to correct the difficulties of the approvals from the city, and there's work in progress in that regard, which will soon be resolved. And also, as I've stated earlier, the challenges of disruptions with the community have also been resolved. So we expect that the work will now proceed unhindered, and by November 2021, we will be able to complete the project. Thank you.
Thank you. The second supplementary is asked by Honorable Hon.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, the capital infrastructure build program of your department has built up a very poor reputation over the last few years. Shoddy workmanship, time overruns. Mamelodi is no exception. It was first announced in 2013. Completion was supposed to be done by 2015. Then it was extended to 2018, and today you tell us we must be happy with completion by hopefully 2021. You've referred, the previous colleague has referred to the Department of Public Works. Minister, and please don't regurgitate the issue of we will co-manage projects and we will have stern conversations with Public Works. What will you be doing to finally divorce Public Works as the project manager of the bulk projects of justice? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. As Honourable Horn warns me that I must not regurgitate this, unfortunately, at the current moment, it is the program that we are currently using to deal with our infrastructure build program. It is still the implementing agent, the Department of Public Works. We are, however, open to further explore other avenues that could enable us to get other project managers and lead who could help us to fast track the infrastructure build program, because indeed there are delays and our infrastructure programs are not moving. So we are at that exploratory stages. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. The next one, third one, is asked by Honourable C.T. Msimang. Honourable Msimang.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, it seems that he's having a connection problem. Can I take this question on his behalf, sir?
You don't want to give him a second?
I'll give him a second or two, okay.
Yeah, no, I can hear you. Oh, yeah, that's what if he can't, then you can take over, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for the answer. Honourable Minister, the condition of some of the courthouses and buildings around the country is deplorable, to say the least. And perhaps one that comes to mind is the Pinetown Magistrates Court that was recently in the news when court staff had threatened strike action over what they said were disgusting workplace conditions, citing an aging court building, rat infestation, as well as a poor state of the building's ablution facilities. Honourable Minister, are you aware of these issues? And if you are not, will you make it your business to be aware? And what is your department's plan to address these unhealthy conditions at Pinetown Magistrates Court? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I was not aware of this one. We will follow up and attend to the issues that the Honourable is raising. Thank you.
Okay, all right. The last supplementary on this is asked by, we don't have a name for the EFF. Who's taking this supplementary from the EFF?
It's me, Deputy Speaker, Honourable Yako.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Minister, we've actually been asking this question for quite a while, but it doesn't really have any answers that we can take to our constituencies. But what is the Ministry, Justice and Defence Ministry, doing about the fact that Public Works is actually holding its infrastructure to ransom without any recourse, without any kind of making of waves on your part? It's as if they're holding you to ransom and you're just allowing them to hold you to ransom. What can you do as the ministry in making sure that Department of Public Works is held accountable, whether you take it to prison, I'm sorry, whether you take it to the you take it to the judicial system, or whether you do whatever it takes to make sure that they are accountable for the structures that you need in order to house your prisoners, in order to create new prisons for those that need to be upkept at the moment. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I thought the question is related to the courts, but it sounds from at the end, sounded like it relates to the correctional facilities. With regards to the courts, there is already an agreement between the Department of Correctional Services and Justice that in some of these new facilities that are being built, we must, in certain instances, in the process of transferring skills, also use inmates to help us with some of the renovations and the building. And this has been done as an exploratory process at the Middelburg Magistrate Court that has been upgraded now to be one of the sites that is being used by the Mpumalanga High Court. And we are looking forward to roll out this program so that the inmates could also have work to do. And the same program will also be used to build some of our own correctional facilities, including facilities for community corrections, because this will also enable the inmates to learn skills such as plumbing, boiler making, and other skills that are associated with the public infrastructure. So that is what we are doing. We are not only waiting for public works or only holding meetings with public works, but we also look at our own internal capability and capacity from the inmates so that we begin to involve them in this kind of programs. And we do hold the Department of Public Works to some of the meetings, arrangements, and engagements to deliver on some of the agreed timeframes and projects. And I think we will continue to have such monthly discussions. And in certain instances, the Department of Public Works has also agreed to allow to delegate some of these functions to some of our regional offices and also to the offices of the Chief Justice, such as issues of maintenance of gates, doors, and some of the small things that could be done by the officials in that kind of infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, thank you very much. The time for questions and answers is over for today. The House is adjourned. Thank you very much. Enjoy the evening wherever you are, including you, Shenge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Shenge. Bye.
Yeah. You too, Deputy Speaker. Enjoy the evening.
And whatever you're doing.
Before the session, I said, I will see the questions.
So you are going through Victoria.
We'll end our salary.